Thanks for joining me today. My name is Tandiwe Moreo and this is my channel. It's all about photography and cameras and all those really cool things. If this is your first time, welcome and thank you for giving it a try. It would be amazing if you hit the subscribe button below, which has the like button just under it. Today we're going to be just jumping into talking about prime lenses, which is a really exciting topic for me today and I can't wait to share it with you. What is a prime lens? I guess that's a good place to start. It's a lens that doesn't allow you to zoom closer or further from the image. In real time, what that means is if you want to get closer to your subject, you zoom with your feet. If you want to get further, you zoom out with your feet. But that's a big disadvantage of using a prime lens because it means you have to be really fast in reaching action. If it's far away, you may not reach it in time. And if you take your shot, then the action may be too deep into the shot for it to be an interesting shot. But the big benefit of prime lenses is how sharp and crisp their images are. What's unique about prime lenses compared to zoom lenses is that they have less glass inside of the lens itself, which means that the images are sharper. And that's always a good thing. A question I often get, especially on Facebook for some reason, is how do I make my images as sharp as yours? And this is a trick. I always shoot with prime lenses as much as possible. Today I have a 35mm, a 50, a 60 macro, and a 100mm. And I want to tell you the different scenarios in which I use all of these lenses. First, I'm going to talk about the 35mm lens. I actually don't use this lens anymore, but I used to use it when I shot with a cropped sensor, which was the Nikon D7000. There's a link to that video below in the description box, right under the like button. Why I used it and I really loved it with a cropped sensor camera was because it gave me the same view that my eyes would see in terms of distance from the subject. Now, because I shoot a full frame camera, I actually use the 50mm lens, prime lens. And on a full frame, like the 35 on a cropped sensor, it will show you what you're seeing, the distance you're seeing with your eyes, the same distance you'll see through your camera. It's a very nice lens because of the bokeh, which I'll explain in a minute. In weddings, this is actually my favorite lens to use. Also, because it's a 1.8 lens, you can shoot in low light really easily. So I'm quickly going to talk about what bokeh is. If you've ever taken a picture against a hedge where there's sunlight hitting the different leaves, so some are in shade and some are in sun, you will notice if you're at a very high f-stop like f11 or f14 that your eyes are going to compete to look at the subject and the picture. So what happens if you reduce your f-stop to f2.8, 2.4 or even lower, 1.2? Those leaves become big, beautiful circles of color, and that's what we call bokeh. And it's a really nice effect to have in your pictures. It's also really good for isolating your subject away from your backdrop. The next lens I want to talk about is the 60mm. And I actually don't use this lens a lot. The only reason why it's in my kit is when I'm shooting weddings and I want to take close-ups of like the rings or the bride's makeup being done, because it's a macro lens, which means that if you're shooting a small object, you can go really close to that object and just get a tiny part of that object in focus and everything else is beautiful and blurred out. I'll show you some shots on screen about how that looks practically. But a reason why I don't really use it a lot is it's only 10mm more than the 50, which is a more natural perspective kind of lens. So this one, it's not really used. It's for one or two flare shots. A quick mention that I don't really use it for beauty or fashion photography because what happens is if a lens is wide and you come close to your subject with it, their features get distorted. So the 60 will still make your nose look a bit broad, it might extend the sides of your face, and that's not a very pleasant effect to have in camera. The last lens I'm going to talk about is the 100mm. If you use Nikon, this is a Canon lens. So if you use Nikon, they make a 105, and this is actually one of my favorite lenses for shooting beauty, which is close-ups of the face. Because it's a more telephoto lens, it doesn't distort features like the 60 would, but it's also a macro lens. So you can go in and get, those fantastic shots of close-ups of eyelashes, close-ups of the lips, and just showing that amazing texture on skin. This is an amazing lens. I sometimes use it in weddings, though because it's more of a telephoto, it becomes difficult to use in case your bride and groom move close to you. You need to move a very significant distance backwards with this lens to get them back into focus. So I only use it in situations where, for example, the bride and groom are signing the wedding certificate and I know they're not going to move from that position. If there's a lot of movement, I prefer to be a bit more wide with a 50 or a 35 or even the 10 to 20. If you want to know more about wedding photography for beginners, when the video is up, I will link it below in the description box, and that will kind of just break down what it means to be a wedding photographer and the different things you need to use to be a wedding photographer. Thanks for watching. I hope that had some helpful information about prime lenses, what they are and when you should use which one. If you're a first-time visitor here, thank you for watching. It would be amazing if you could hit the subscribe button below, it's in red. If you're returning, I appreciate your support, and it would be awesome to hear your feedback on this video in the comment section. I encourage professional photographers to list your favorite prime lenses and what you use them for in the comments section. And if you like this video, you can go ahead and give it a thumbs up. As usual, everything mentioned in this video, a link's been put to it in the description box below, so you can buy it for yourself if you want to. You can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and my website, www.tandiromero.com. I would love to hear your feedback and just know what you'd like to know more about in general. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.